Prosperity is a herbal remedy that has been naturally designed to nourish the prostate gland. Prosperity uses a combination of leaves, roots, and barks to create a tincture designed to nourish your prostate gland. It also will assist in prostate-related issues such as erectile dysfunction, swollen prostates, and problems related to the passage of urine. Call or WhatsApp 728-8289, 728-8289 and get your bottle today. Prosperity. Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of Archeoastronomy from Politecnico de Milano in Italy. Our universe and its maker has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com for more information. Blessed love, definitely give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life. We definitely give thanks for your presence, royal family. Give thanks to each and everyone definitely stepping into the zone. As always, we welcome you to the Tiger's Nest. This is the international flavor. This definitely is the universal spice. And of course, we are bringing joy and happiness and love and righteousness to the international community. Welcome to Radio Anu, for sure, broadcasting out of the halls of the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. PriestIsaacInstitute.com is the website. And of course, with any any contact that you would want to make with us, email priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. Of course, your humble servant for this evening's period of the nest Honorable Priest Isaac, of course, and giving thanks for such honor. I know many ones jump and shake when they hear honorable. It is Marcus Messiah Garvey who taught us to be honorable. We, as you know, the black man and the black woman, have been dishonored for such a long time. We, as the black man and the black woman, have been put on the feet for such a long time, and it has been to the point where we forgot who we are, our agency, our royalty. Remember, again, when they came for us, they weren't looking for the weak and the sick and the scraggling. They came for the high officials and the kings and the magistrates and the chief orators and the captains of 50 and the captains of 100, according to the book of Isaiah chapter 3. So, of course, they came for the honorable man. They came for the honorable woman. They came for the chief officials. They came for his excellency. They came for your majesty. They came for your highness, to turn them into boys and girls. And he saying, she say, and come here, nigga, and all of that kind of stuff. So when Marcus Messiah Garvey taught us to take out the chicken wishbone out of our Kundalini's corridor and put in the djed, put in the backbone of the upright man and walk in the way of he, Marcus Messiah Garvey, he taught us to be honorable. Remember, it is Messiah Garvey that taught us to be generals. It is Messiah Garvey that made us captains again. It's Messiah Garvey that gave us the title of presidents. 1919, Black Star Line of captains on the seas. Marcus Messiah Garvey lifted us up from that linear level to the upright level with the lion paw, as they say, in the halls of secrecy. So we give thanks for the title of honorable. And anytime you tell someone I'm honorable, because you see around here in the Caribbean, for you to be honorable, you have to win an election. You know, during the election season, then you can be called an honorable. And in fact, if you lose the election, you lose the honor too. No more honorable for you. So it's not really according to your works or according to your stand or even according to your lineage, you know, because we are all honorable, you know. Yes, we are all honorable according to, again, the mighty Black Tiger himself, Marcus Messiah Garvey, in the same way as it says, ye are all gods, you know, but ye shall die like men. The vast majority, 99 point, how many nines you can put behind that, those who are dying like men, and a very few, you know, the real sand upon the seashore business are living the standard of the God. I wonder if you're following what I'm saying. This is the Tiger's Nest family. Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. Different zone, whatever you were doing before this. This is a wake-up call now. Time to get serious. You know? We're getting into some information and some vibration. We're even sharing the meditation with the people in the YouTube zone tonight. So blessed love to them as well. But let them know this is an exclusive Radio Anu program. Every night at 7, you join us on the revolutionary station. You understand? Pure revolution here. Nobody's yard we're in and renting no space. I'm talking about Facebook and YouTube. Radio Anu, that is Command Central. So we give thanks for those who find the time to make sure they step in to that zone. Those on YouTube, remember the link is in the description below, and make it a habit that you are here at 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. We go all into the night, depending on the energy for the Tiger's Nest every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Beautiful. So you're honorable, but you just got to live up to the standard that the Black Tiger would have already bestowed upon you. Now, what I want to do this evening, we're going to go straight into the vibration, you know, go straight into the medley and go straight into, you know, what we have to offer And this is really coming off of the program that we did previous night. So again, even previous night we were streaming on the social media platforms. So that means at least the regular crowd as such would have already received a taste of what last night, as they call it, we say previous night's Tiger's Nest was all about. So we went into the mythology of Ethiopia. And let me just say before I go any further, I really do appreciate love, you know, those who would have already reached out. Some of you could even see it in the comments as it relates to that video. Many ones showing appreciation, as they say, for the contents of the conversation, which is really where we want to go. You know, it is a serious level of ignorance, you know, when people just jump up and burn Egypt or burn Bible and cannot even balance an understanding of reality around this. And it is just the truth. That is why it is so heartwarming when ones would reach out to show that, yes, okay, I actually get the point. You know, I could see, you know, the understanding of the use of what is called mythology. I always prefer mythos, taking it from a church word point of view again. But at the same time, remember, this is an ancient African science expressing, I must say this before I go too far, expressing our history. Listen to me good, eh? If you're taking notes, this is a good time to write. We as African people, we are known for expressing our history, expressing our religion, to use such a term, expressing our theology, our morals, you know, expressing our principles. And I mentioned history as well. Now, we express all of these things and other things using the art form of what we call art, which is, you know, pictures and drawings, etc., etc. And this would also go even into the realms of the hieroglyphs, the Meduneta. We also use the written word, which obviously you would read the written word. We also use the oral word, just like the art of the griot. I want you to hear me good now. We also use instruments, not necessarily singing. Music, yes, even without words. We use specific instruments that tell our story. What story? Our history, our culture, our religion, etc. So we use, again, the written word. We use pictorial expression, what we call art. We use singing and dancing as well. We use instruments by themselves. We also utilize the theater. This is an African principle. We are known for this. That's why you see so many different cultures in ancient Africa, and they dress a specific way, and they do these rituals where they're spinning around specific times and kicking up dust and walking on these stilts and many different things, blowing fire out their mouth. That's why you see even in the West, a lot of these tradition in the Caribbean continues because it is coming from an African sense. But all of this has to do with our ancient understanding of the esoterics. The what some may say, the hidden message. Esoteric really means secret science, you know. So within every expression, even of the exoteric, there is the esoteric, which is the secret science. So even when they went into the area of Monomotapo and around the great Zimbabwe structures, the Zimbabwe city and the walls, and they said that the ancient people, you know, would march their cattle along the specific roadways that go throh Monomotapo. Now, from an aerial view, for those of you who are in Zimbabwe, blessed love, Kenya, Uganda, love all the time, you know, from an aerial view now, when you observe the cattle path that you see in ancient Zimbabwe, and I would expect this is the same for other places where the ancients would have kept cattle. But of course, the stone cities are known. Remember the Modobo Mountains, for example, are also known for its alignment with the heavenly stars, etc. All of this is in Zimbabwe. So we're dealing with a star people, for sure. You know that. We are dealing with ancient astronomers. So the cattle path for the Zimbabwean ancient cattle people, when astronomers studied this from an aerial view, they came up with certain cosmic or astronomical equations for movements of different heavenly bodies. Now, this is deep. So in other words, just in layman language, the cattle path for the ancient Zimbabwe people represents the movement of the heavens. Talk about the cow jumping over the moon. I mean, yes, I get that. Oh, that's a nice one. So when you understand now the vibration I'm saying is that we as an African people, it is in our DNA to express ourselves using esoteric understanding, esoteric expressions. That is what you call an esoteric expression. Look at the celebration, the CG2, or the CG celebration of the people there, the Dogons. Every 60 years, they have this specific ceremony. So if you're 55 and you're going to take part of this, that means you never see this like, you know, as the 60-year ceremony. But yet still you would have been practicing it, I would assume, all your life coming up, because when you see these brothers get into their formation and they start to do their dance, I want you to listen to me good, scholars, and they start to do their dance and you see them spinning and twirling and what they are mimicking is the 60-year orbit, really, of what scientists consider to be the binary star system of Sirius A and B. Why I say what scientists consider, of course, if you study astronomy in depth, you will know that there's credible evidence there for a Sirius C. But whatever the case is, what the Dogons are doing in their dance, while they're dancing, you know, they are imitating the movements of Sirius A, at least around Sirius B, and its movement itself throughout the galaxy, throughout the universe, in pattern form. That's beautiful. So we as an African people, we're known for doing this. In some cases, even unconsciously. When you see we gather for Nyabingi, as you know, Nyabingi, the Bobo Shanti order, Nyabingi, the circular order, and then of course the Melchizedek priesthood order and its establishment, and even how the service is carried out. All of these things are movements of the heavens, for sure. 7 priests. What does the Bible say? The 7 stars in his right hand. And that is what we culture it. We represent the 7 stars in the right hand of God, the 7 priests upon the altar. And we spin and rotate like these stars and comets at the right time, in the right procession, the way we come on and the way we come off and everything, go down and come up. It's the movement of the heavens and the time of the year. And you see this in many different expressions of what is called religion. the strongly European watered down version of ancient African, tradition do not have that strong spiritual connection like a lot of African tribal rituals, you see, because that is soaked in the past and was created under the whole concept of esoteric expression. So there was always an understanding of what mythology, as they call it, means. Mythology is to some degree esoteric, to some degree, because some people mythology is not esoteric. It is symbolic, but it ain't got no deep secret science. It has a symbolic meaning that they put to it, but real esoteric expression is like the mask of Tutankhamun and the mask of Lord Pakal. That's what you call esoteric expression, secret science. So when you get esoteric expression or allegory now, allegory is also secret science. And allegory is specifically an expression, usually in a dance form or in poetry, or in some ancient classical writing. So the stuff is deep, family, when it comes to reading between the lines, as they say. So I'm just kind of shaking up the mind, really, in this introduction. We haven't really begun yet. We're just introducing the program, just shaking up the mind, kind of even reminding you again of the program previous night. What were we talking about? We were talking about a literal queen and a literal king within the Ethiopian kings list. Do you remember that? So King Kefe, which the Greeks call Kephos. And we have Queen Cassiope, which the Greeks call Cassiopeia. And the Greeks speaks of what comes down like a mythical kingdom of Ethiopia, because history don't really align itself with the way the Greeks express Ethiopia. Even again, they have a very similar lineage of the kings of Ethiopia to that of the Ethiopian kings list, with some obvious deviations. The history involves characters that are considered, again, mythical, from Andromeda to even Cassiopeia. But again, Cassiopeia, again, was taken from a real queen, Cassiopeia. That is why Cassiopeia and Cassiopeia are given the exact same date of rulership. And the same thing with Kephos and Kefe. Kefe being the real king. That's why previous night I took time to explain again that you must understand, in real history you have Khufu. Khufu is real history, but the Greeks call him Cheops. That's why we would stress points like, for example, the constellation above us is Sahu, but the Greeks call him Orion. And you may say, well, Sahu or Orion, it don't make a difference. But yes, it does. Because the story, which is also an allegory, behind Sahu is a different story than the mythology that is behind Orion. So it's not just a case of, or you could call it Sahu or Orion. Maybe you can, because many times, even in my discussion, I still say Orion. But Orion is a hunter with a club that hit wolves over their head. Orion wears animal skin and howls in the night. That's not Sahu. Sahu is a majestic king that ruled over Ethiopia, who ascended into the heavens. So it's different. So the Greeks, again, took Sahu and made Orion. The Greeks took Khufu, real people, and made Cheops, and took Menkare, not Menkare, Kefra, and made chaffens, and they took Menkaure too, and made, I can't remember what the Greek version of Menkaure is, but it's all right. If you can't remember something, these are the things not to remember. Yes, hey, this is the Tiger's Nest. I don't know if this is the first time you're coming in. If you are, I'm very thankful for your presence. We keep it real here and just, bring the facts, and we're not about no debating and pulling no war and tugging no war with no one. We're just here to teach those who want to learn, the sincere truth and understand. Knowledge is great, but understanding is better. Hey, we're broadcasting right out of the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge at the moment station in ancient and modern and in the Caribbean, in the West Indies, of course, in the island of Antigua. And of course, we're just keeping the joy here. So again, with comprehension, family, before we get into even the David story, and we're going to do a bit of reading tonight. And the point I have to make is such a simple point, but we actually have to furnish the mind as it relates to understanding or comprehending how important what we call mythology is nothing to be ashamed about. And when you understand mythos, it don't mean that the story is quote unquote not true and all of that stuff. That's why we took time to do programs on these levels, so a person can at least have a mature level of thinking going forward into the acquiring of knowledge. So we're not thinking back in the day, or if it's right or wrong, or left or right. None of these different things. No. We are open-minded, free-thinking individuals that know that truth. You have absolute truth and you have some relative truth too. And of course, if you understand how to deal with the relative nature of truth, you yourself will extract more of the absolute truth out of it with humility. So don't be aggressive against it. The soft and quiet just tend to even overpower the hard and tough. Ask His Majesty Haile Selassie about that. So keeping all of what we just said in mind, and again, that was almost like a quick summary of what we did previous night. I want to just quickly, before we go into the David story that I want to highlight, and we're actually there already, but what I want to specifically highlight is the way that David, I want you to listen to me good, the way that David is presented, not just to Saul, but the way that the relationship, the early relationship that David had with Saul, the way that it is presented to the reader, to me, gives a strong expression of allegory. Now, again, I want to have to be shamed, and let's not be ignorant, because right in the Bible, Paul says that the story of Abraham, Hagar, Sarah, and Ishmael is an allegory. Right there, clear as day, everyone knows the scripture. Now, someone's actually used that as evidence to prove, well, look at here, it's an allegory. That means it's not true. And of course, those who have already blocked their mind from deeper knowledge, when they hear this, especially if they are, Christians and dark-minded, they will tell you it's not in the Bible until you show them and say, oh, well, it means something else, and try to go around it. No need to go around it, man. It's an allegory. But again, an allegory doesn't mean that is not true. In fact, and again, what I'm saying here is what we would have spoken of already. It's important for us. That's one of the main things that we miss, even as ancient original people. We have lost the concept of seeing the esoteric in even our own ancient writings. I want to revisit the story of Sinuhe. And of course, those who know, you know that the story of Sinuhe has a lot of similarity to that of not just David, you know, but there's a link also with Sinuhe representing the whole tribe of Israel and the exodus out of Egypt going into Canaan, as he would have done something like that in his movement. And then you also have well, that links him also to Moses. So you see a lot of that taking place, just as we would have had a discussion the other evening concerning who may be who in the Bible, Akhenaten, Moses, and all of that sort of things. Now, I really do not try to make too many of those links, and I like to hear about them, and I look into all of them for sure. But again, you see, I think I look at this on another level. I want to say deeper, nobody feel, oh, I think it's deeper. Another level, let's just say another level. Wherein, again, you understand that a lot of this, is some deep age reincarnation. Then you have to get into soul contact and these different things to understand why you see this science keep repeating itself. That's why Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. All right, the tale of Sinuhe, and this is coming here from worldhistory.org. The Middle Kingdom of ancient Egypt, about 2000 BC to 1700 BCE, saw the start of more formal writing, which included religious scripts, administrative notes, and more in-depth fictional writing. One of the most iconic pieces of writing to come out of the Middle Kingdom was the tale of Sinuhe. Sinuhe was a courier and assistant to the king of Egypt, Amenhotep I. He fled Egypt and joined a Bedouin tribe to the east and started a new life near Syria. Once he reached old age, he returned and finished out his life in Egypt. The importance of this story goes beyond the structure and writing techniques of the text, as it provides insight into the cultural differences between Egypt and the Near East. Philologists, pardon me, are still analyzing the text and acquiring new insight into the text today. This 4,000-year-old tale provides insight into the world and mind of an Egyptian, and is just another example of Egyptian brilliance. Very good. Now, the tale of Sinuhe, and of course, ancient papyri, and we're talking about 4,000 years old. Now, this is really the sort of stuff that those who are critical of information like to hear, meaning that, we don't want just any old talk coming to us. We want things that we can prove. That is why David and Solomon and a lot of the biblical stuff don't get a pass by many, many ones, because they consider that, they no proof, no credible proof. Although every week you hear something maybe on TBN or CBN or one of these Christian stations, giving a little touch of something that they would have discovered somewhere in Tel Aviv or somewhere around Palestine, to somehow bring credit to, what they're saying. And they even said once they found one of the pharaohs chariot wheels under the Red Sea. You never see that one. So you know, people come up with a lot of things. There are people that say they discovered Noah's Ark right there in Ararat. I'm sure many of you would have seen it on the internet. It looks as if it's the like almost like the wood would have grown into the mountain. So you see the outline of what appears to be the ark. So we live in an age now where, to put it bluntly, people can say anything. And to put it in a diplomatic way, we live in an age where a lot of different levels of information are coming out, where you got to be wise. You know, you have to be able to sift out, as they say, sense out of nonsense. Now, this is nothing to debate. This is nothing to debate here. We're talking about 4,000 years old, papyri, the tale of Senue. All right, fair enough. Nothing to debate. We all can understand that. Good. This has nothing to do with religion. It's just the truth. Now, when we look at the tale of Senue and we observe the story of David as he battles with Goliath, we see a serious similarity. Now, of course, this is not the first. You have the Proverbs which are they're Proverbs that are almost identical to the writings of Amenhotep. Then you have the hymns 2:10, which we just covered a few days ago, and how the hymns 2:10 is like a copy of Psalms 104, or Psalms 104 being a copy of the hymn 2:10. Why? Because the hymn 2:10, the writings of Amenhotep are older, and especially in the case of the writings of Amenhotep, are much older than the Proverbs that mimic it. Now, as I say, you know, personally, that's not a big thing to me, and I don't have to get riled up on, oh, you see, they stole this from this and that. No, even in our anciency family, we ourselves, you can look at the pyramid text. The same pyramid text became the coffin text. The same coffin text, you've got the Book of Gates. The Book of Gates, you have the different papyri of Annie and other people. You understand? And yet still you see a similar story in these different writings. In fact, do you know that the gods that we speak of, like we say the god Canaan, or we may say the god Asar, or we may say the god Horus, but at different times in ancient Northeast Africa, not just Kemet, but Kush, in ancient times, you would have these different gods being the highlighted god. So there was a time when Kunu was the highlighted god. There was a time when Set was the highlighted god. There was a time when Asa was the highlighted god. But listen to me, the story was always the same. The same, dead and come back alive, resurrected, crucified, the full thing. The story always plays over, although it's a different god at the helm depending on the time. But does that mean that one age or one dynasty or one period robbed the story from a previous period? No, it's just a continuation of an accepted culture. I hope you comprehend what I'm saying there, because we're trying to deal with this thing with understanding it. In all your knowledge, that's good, but in all you're getting, get understanding too. Or else you'll be throwing out babies with bath waters, which a lot of us do. Just read something, new evidence, or that I've been believing this for 10 years now, I see it wrong. That may be true too. But in all you're getting of your knowledge, get understanding. Let's read some of the story of Senue, and I'm very thankful for your presence. Hey, give thanks, family. For those who are just stepping in, this is the Tiger's Nest, of course, a Radio Anu exclusive, but we are streaming through the YouTube at the moment, so we give thanks for the family there. And right about now, again, we're going to read from the stories of Senue. Hey, one day a strong man of Syria, Palestine, Interesting. Pushed his way into my tent and challenged me to a duel. How dare he? He was a warrior without equal. He had never lost a duel. Every heart embraced me as the underdog. He was armed with a shield, an axe, and a whole armful of javelins, a whole armful, Rasta God. Now after another, one after another, I dodged his javelins and sidestepped his arrows. I waited. Finally, the strong man rushed me. Then I shot him in the neck with an arrow. With a loud cry, he fell on his face. Mortally wounded, I finished him off with his own axe, and then stood on his back and let out my battle cry, while all the people of Syria, Palestine thundered their applause. And that is from the story of Senue. All right, just to move quickly, we're going to read 1 Samuel chapter 17. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze on his leg. Bronze. On his leg, bronze greaves and a bronze javelin was slung on his back. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, David slung it and struck the Philistine in the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistine. Okay, and that is 1 Samuel chapter 17. And you may say, okay, so what is the point here? Now, the obvious point is that just like the writings of Amenhotep being similar to the Proverbs, just like the hymn of Aten being very similar to Psalm 104, here we have the story of Senue being similar to that of David and Goliath. No, brother, come on, man. I knew that's what you were going to try to say. That's impossible, man. I listened to both stories. It's two different things. It's two different things. Man, I could show you, man. One had an axe and one had a sword. Okay. We're dealing with allegory. That's how you read allegory. You see, that's why a lot of people, no offense, hold on, let's reason it out. That's why a lot of people says that allegory or the mythos is not true. Now, you see, the mythos itself was not made to be literal, you know. But you see, what is mystic about the mythos is that the mythos must become crystallized in history. So even the mythos, real mythos now, not no mythology that the Greeks make up, that they copy from someone. When you see the ancient Africans put a mythos or an allegory together, like the story of Asar then, for a perfect example, the story of Asar, you could argue from now until the cows come home that Osiris never existed. I understand. I get your point. But I know for sure that the Osiris concept and principle became fully charged in the presence of Haile Selassie I. So Haile Selassie is the Osiris. He did exist. But hear this now. The Osiris, the Heru, all of the principles that we say don't exist, they must exist in human beings, maybe in different dispensations. I want you to follow me good. So that means now, when even the movements of the heavens, the stars, the story that is in the zodiac belt, must manifest in flesh. That's why it's there. It's a oneness between the earth and the heavens. As above, so below. It's a very deep, deep science. So that is why the allegory, family, allegory. You can't take the allegory like you take in Sunday school. The same Osiris Asa was cut up into 14, some say 16 pieces. And even the 14 and 16 pieces has its own allegory too. Nobody was chopped up into no pieces and then they put them back together and he came back to life. Of course not. That didn't happen to Haile Selassie, but it happened to Haile Selassie. The allegory of it became literal in a more tangible form. Article 16 pieces is what they took, you know, to betray the king. If you understand, you get it. That's why we teach these things, you know, over and over again, to be honest. So you can get it and appreciate, love, or appreciate, as they say, the science of the allegory, the esoteric, the mythos. So you don't argue because one story slightly sound different than the other. We're not trying to be historically correct with the mythos. A story passed down from one generation to the other generation. From one generation, it was the god Canoe. The next generation is the god Happy. The next generation say, well, it was the god Noon. But we understand all of them is the same one God. Is just a different name, a different time, a different expression, a different age. The age of Aries, the ram, the age of Pisces, the fish, the age of Aquarius, the water carrier. That's how we deal with so-called God. We're not boxed down. We see God, as you call it, as the universe, and it's expressed in the universal language. The heavens declare the glory. Psalms 147 say, you know, all the stars and call it them by their name. So let's look at the story properly, family. So the story to Sinew says, one day a strong man from Syria, Palestine, and Palestine is the same Philistine, you know, the Philistine. All right. A strong man, this say a champion named Goliath from Philistine. But here it is, the man. So here we have this strong man. He was armed with a shield, an axe, and a whole arm full of javelins. Now Goliath had bronze helmet on his head, wore a coat of scale armor of bronze, his legs, bronze greave, and here it is, a bronze javelin was slung on his back. Now, it's not a whole, what you would call it, of javelins, it's not a whole handful, armful of javelins, but it's just mystic how the javelin was mentioned. But it's straight that this great strong man attacked Sinew. Sinew clearly shows you, yes, he didn't use a sling and a stone, he used an arrow. But with a loud cry, he fell on his face, mortally wounded, and I finished him off. In the story of David, it says, the stone sank into his forehead and he fell face down on the ground. You know, Sinew said that he fell on his face and I finished him off with his own axe and then stood on his back and let out my battle cry. And hear how David Owen says it. Dave, after he fell on his face, like Sinew's enemy fell on his face, David ran and stood over him, just like Sinew went and stood on his back. And hear what David did. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it Sinew said, I finished him off with his own, didn't say a sword, but axe. Okay. I took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout, because they in battling. And according to Senue, he said, I finished him off with his own axe, then stood on his back and let out my battle cry, where all the people of Syria, Palestine thundered with applause. So, I mean, it's just the obvious. I mean, you and your friends can sit down and ponder over, you know, which is the right one and which is the wrong one and all of that stuff. That's not the argument at all. That's why I took time to explain how we approach knowledge, not stiff-necked and dogmatic, but with a reasoning mind of comprehension. Good. So obviously, when you get this sort of understanding, you get more value even when you read the Bible. That's me, really. I'm not here for nobody to say, yeah, man, priest, I totally agree with you, boy. The Bible is a good book. No, I don't need no cheerleaders. Not only good book, great book. The king said, I glory in the Bible. Yeah, but Jonah wasn't swallowed by no fish. What do you mean, priest? You just say the king said he glory in the Bible. And now you're dissing the Bible. Not real. Who dissing which Bible? Why? You said Jonah wasn't swallowed by no fish. I just explained the importance of understanding allegory. Noah didn't build no boat and call two of every animal, nothing goes out. That's the allegorical expression of the story. Do you already forget last night that Cassiopeia is the wife of Cephas? Both of them ruled 400 years apart, and they have a daughter named Andromeda, who was saved by Perseus from was the sea monster, and all of this is portrayed in the heavens, but yet still it was taken from a real Ethiopian dynamic, which showed a moment of powerful rule between Cassiope and Kefe, which are two real, a real queen and a real king, who were not married to each other, but because of the type of rulership that they gave and brought a certain level of stability. It's just like you're looking at the history of a country, and they say they had a strong stability and strong, revenue between the time of Queen Cassiope, pardon me, and King Caphe. And that's 400 years apart. But yet still the Greeks took that knowledge and merged it into a story that says Caphe, which is Cephas, was the husband married to Cassiopeia, which is Cassiope. And they brought forth a daughter, Andromeda. Who is she? She represents the nation that they gave birth to. This is some deep stuff. That is why, personally, we can't be arguing with nobody, whether it's typing argument or out-and-mouth oral argument. No time to argue. Waste of time. I love what John Henry Clark said. He don't have no time to debate with nobody that is not his equal. Straight up, you hear what we're giving you here in the Tiger's Nest. Meditate. So now, with them levels of comprehension, Rastafari, I want to just take a quick look, and I hope everyone is having a wonderful time, at the early relationship between David and King Saul. And it may seem like a very simple point. I can tell you, when I make the point, you're going to say, so wait, that's the point? Yeah, very simple point, nothing too heavy, But yet still, when you contemplate the point, you would see that, okay, you could see where the importance of valuing esoteric understanding comes in. Good. In fact, before I go into that, this is why when we read the New Testament, you know, we like to read the story of the resurrection of Christ. All the disciples give a different story. You know that? Yeah, man. And some totally different story too. Totally different story. Each of them have a different amount of people that came to visit the tomb. In one case, it's just Mary alone. In the next case, is Mary and some other Mary. The next case is about 4 sisters. The next case is like a whole multitude came. Then they have a story where they went in the tomb and nobody was in there at all. And then the angel met one of them outside. And they have a case where they went in and saw 2 angels standing at the end. Then the next case, they went in and saw 2 angels sitting. Then the next case, I think they went in and saw, no, they came and met an angel sitting on the rock or something of the sort. So many different things. One said that they went back to disciples. One said they didn't go back to the disciples. One said when they met Christ, they hugged him up and he didn't have anything to say, but it was all right. One said when they met the disciples, he said, you can't touch me because I have not ascended unto the Father. And many other differences. And this is why you'd hear many ones speak of the Bible contradicting itself. Of course, if you're going to read it with linear eyes, it's a pot of contradiction. But I will repeat again. One version of the Osiris mystery says he was cut into 16 pieces. And one version says 14. Which one is the right one? Okay. How many of you have a copy of the book, The Heavens Declare the Glory, by the way? The answer is in that book, by the way. The Heavens Declare the Glory. All you got to do is visit our website. And, you also have the true biblical land of Israel. But for now, let me highlight The Heavens Declare the Glory. Just visit our website. The link is in the description for those who are on YouTube below the video. Of course, those who are listening to us on the radio, I knew you are already on the website. So you just go over to shop and you see the book, The True Biblical Land of Israel. But I'm highlighted The Heavens Declare the Glory, Rastafari and the Cosmos. And you should, take a read of that book. Believe me, it will enlighten the soul. Family, let me go into this quickly. I know I would have taken a good amount of your attention already, and I'm very thankful for it. This is 1 Samuel chapter 16. I might do a bit of skipping, just in the interest of time. And the Lord said unto Samuel, how long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill thine horn with oil and go, and I will send thee to Jesse, the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul hear it, he will kill me. And the Lord said, take an heifer with thee, and say, I come to sacrifice to the Lord. And you know the story. I really am going to skip that. Samuel went down, and Jesse came and called all his sons out, and he called all the tall and strong-looking ones. And Samuel said, man, it's none of these, God is saying it's none of these. And you sure you don't have any more sons? And he told Samuel, well, not really, but I have one. And I said, yeah, bring him out. And when he brought him out, he was the one that the Lord has chosen. Verse 11. And Samuel said to Jesse, are here all thy children? And he said, there remaineth yet the youngest. And behold, he keepeth sheep. And Samuel said to Jesse, send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come hither. So he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, and withal of a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look to. Yes. And the Lord said, arise and anoint him, for this is he. And Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed David in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, David, from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. Now listen, I just wanted to show, this is obviously in story form. It's a story. Now many ones will say, oh, this is accurate history. Fair enough. But for sure, you're getting this as a story. So Samuel anoints David now to be king. King Saul is still the king, but David is now anointed by the high priest and great prophet Samuel. Saul, who is the first king of Israel, you know, when Israel did not, when God said Israel didn't need a king because God was their king. So deep stuff. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. So, well, the Lord would have already departed from Saul prior to this. That's why he went for David. But you could see as the Spirit of God rest upon David, like it departed from Saul. And of course, when the Spirit of God come out of you, an evil spirit will come in. It's just natural. Okay, you got to have some kind of spirit inside of you, eh? And Saul's servant said unto him, behold now, an evil spirit from God troubleth thee. So they could see that evil spirit troubling Saul. Let our Lord now command thy servants, which are before thee, to seek out a man, follow me, good family, who is a cunning player on a harp, and it shall come to pass, when the evil spirit of God is upon thee, that he shall play with his hand, and thou shalt be well. Now everyone know Rastaman said the harps is the Nyabingi drum. Eh? That's why we say we play skillfully on an instrument of 10 strings, which are our fingers. That's why we don't beat drums, we play the drums. You know, real musician, chief musician, make the drums talk. Very good. So a Nyabingi music, Nyabingi art, and Nyabingi drum sound tear up jinns and Sukunu and all funny spirits. Very good. So they're telling Saul, man, let us get somebody to play with their hands and you'll be all right. And Saul said unto his servants, provide me now a man that can play well, and bring him to me. I wanted to follow the story, you know, family. Then answered one of the servants and said, behold, I have seen a son of Jesse, the Bethlehemite, that is cunning in playing, and a mighty valiant man, and a man of war, and prudent in matters, and a comely person, and the Lord is with him. Little David he talking about? I don't know. Remember, even when Samuel came for David, David's father overlooked him and bring everybody else out, strap in, man, and say, hey, yeah, this is it. Now Saul is sick with some spirit provoking him. I could only imagine. And his servant telling him, yeah, I know somebody that can play well. Not just that he can play well, you know. It's not that he see David and say, yeah, man, that man can play the kettle clean. But this man is a mighty valiant man. I mean, he have to do something to know he's valiant. A man of war, not just killing a lion and a bear. No. A man of war. Oh, you know David is a man of war. Little David, a man of war, Rastafari, and prudent in matters. So, if the king's servant saying this, that means David has already made a name for himself. The same David that his daddy overlooked him, a man of war, and a comely person, and the Lord is with him. Okay, good, let's move on. Wherefore Saul sent messengers to Jesse and said, send me David, thy son, which is with the sheep. Man of war with the sheep. Eh? And Jesse, all of these, this is symbolic tones, family. the shepherd. That's why Asa has the shepherd stick, the shepherd. That's all it is. Don't get caught up in the David watching over lambs and sheep. We ourselves say the Lord is our shepherd. 100 years from now, when somebody read what you have said, what they're going to say, oh man, Selassie, I used to have sheep in. Yeah, man, look, the man said the Lord is our shepherd. Yeah. Wherefore Saul sent messengers to Jesse and said, send me David your son, which is with the sheep. And Jesse took an ass laden with bread and a bottle of wine and a kid, and sent them by David his son unto Saul. All of that is symbolic language. The bread, the wine, the kid, all of this is deep, deep symbolic language. We need to get into Albert Church word. We need to study the works of Alvin Kun Boyd. Yeah, these are people that will take the understanding of each of these elements and show you what it means. And usually this has to do with reincarnation. One of the things with the Bible, the vast majority of the Bible has to do with not just reincarnation, but the incarnation of the God spirit in a human flesh, which really the story is supposed to pertain to you. Deep stuff. Anywhere you see kid, look at all those old-time nursery crime stories and old-time what were these brothers named? Brothers Grimm story. The first Snow White with Lisa, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. All of these stories have the kid in it. The goat represents reincarnation too, you know, the physical. That's why the sheep and the goat, the spirit and the physical. That's why Jacob put on the goat skin when he came before Isaac, Esau. Anyway, let's continue, because we will stick there with them depths. This is deep stuff. Bread, the bottle of wine, and a kid, and he sent David unto Saul. And David came to Saul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly, and he became his armor bearer. I wanted to check this in. So David come to Saul. I'm sure you've seen the movies and the little stories, and so David inside the room playing on the harp, ding 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 ding, and Saul there in the seat, sitting down with his hands, you know, leaning on his fists, you know, getting the provocative spirit out of him. So I'd assume that David got to know Saul, and Saul got to know David. What do you think? Of course. You sure? I mean, not for sure. No, I just wanted to make sure, you know. I don't want you to think I play with you. So you would believe that David and Saul are building a relationship here. What say you? Of course, very good. And David came to Saul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly. So you don't just love people unless you know them. Oh, this is Saul speaking. Oh, I love David. Why? David comes here every week and plays good music for me. Gets the devil out of me. I love him very, very good. And he became his armor bearer. Make him my armor bearer. Armor bearer. So obviously Saul must be familiar with his armor bearer, just like he would be familiar with his cup bearer. What's your point, priest? What do you mean he must be familiar? Who says that he wasn't familiar? I'm just asking. That's why we're taking our time to follow the story. And Saul sent to Jesse, saying, let David, I pray thee, stand before me, for he had found favor in my sight. So Saul is so happy with this man here, which supposed to be a young boy. But you get the impression, you know, he's like a man of war. So Saul is so pleased with this young boy or young man here that he sent back to David's father and say, hey, just leave he here with me, I have found favor in his sight. Don't worry. I will take care of him and I will take care of you. Good. Verse 23. I'm almost done, eh? And it came to pass when the evil spirit from God was upon, and it came to pass when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took an harp. Now that's interesting. The evil spirit didn't come from Satan. I mean, I just read it. The evil spirit from God. Anyway, the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took an harp and played with his hand. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him. Nyabingi works every time, family. Eh? So to me, I'm getting an impression, I mean, I could be wrong, that David and Saul build a relationship there. David just get anointed, God now with him, Saul getting worse. Saul's servants say, hey, listen, I know a man that can play some clean music, and this man is bad with the sword too, and he's a man of war. That means he have to have some you know what I mean, some heads under his belt. For him to be a man of war, more than just a bear and a lion, brother. More than just a bear and a lion. You know, all right. So he get this man and he come and he play, and Saul say, yeah, man, that's good. Wow. Go and tell Jesse that David not coming home. David staying with me. That's what Saul say. Saul say, make him my armor bearer. Yeah, man. Evil spirit come back. David come again. Oh, David, you're doing good. So the 16th verse chapter, Palmy, shows you that it was more than one occasion that David sat and cleaned up Saul. Several times. Saul was growing, basically, you know, for lack of a better term, in love with David there, you know, on a very straight level, I'm speaking. Now, what you got to be straight. Anything else, that's not love, eh? Okay, very good. Now, yes, 17th chapter. Now the Philistines gathered together their army to battle. So we're going into Senyu here now. And were gathered together at Shoshak, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shoshak and Azekah in Ephasah Damin. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. So Israel against the Philistines now. Just like we just read in the story of Senue, the Syria, Palestine, the Philistine. Okay, good. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose weight was 6 cubits and a span, and he had an helmet of brass on his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail. And you know, we read all of that. So the point is, Goliath, and I'm going to read everything. Goliath came out now. Everybody know who Goliath is. And Goliath came and he started to say, who amongst you can come and kill me? If you can kill me, then we will be your servants. But if you can't kill me, you're going to have to be our servant today. And then verse 11 says here, when Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistines, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. So it seems like even Saul was afraid there of Goliath. Now, 12th verse. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Benjamin, Judah, whose name was Jesse. Now let me say something here. Again, those of you who would have followed up when we were doing the program specifically dealing with Noah's Ark, and even if you did not follow up, I'm sure many of you have the knowledge that many of the scriptures were written like by two different people. So you have P scriptures, Y scriptures. So you have the priestly scriptures. You have scriptures that they call the like the Jehovah scriptures and the Elohim scriptures, and these combine to make a chapter within the Bible or several chapters. So that is why when you read the Noah's story, it is as if the story is being told over and over and over again. You read it good. Several times they tell you, and the rain began, and several times they tell you, and Noah, you know, the whatever it is they say, they repeat it. That's why you constantly hear them say that 2 of every clean animals were put in the ark. And then they come back and say 7 of every clean animals were put in the ark. You know, the date of the rain in one chapter is different than the date or the length of time of the rain in the other chapter. And you have many different what you would consider contradictions. And that is in the Noah story alone. Why? Again, you have different writers right there in that one book, or even in those 2, 3 chapters dedicated to Noah. You have the priestly, you have the Elohimists, and you have the those who are with Jehovah, because even the Jehovah and the Elohim were 2 different ideas at that time, plus the priestly, which is said to be Levitical. You understand? And this is realistic, whether you believe in Bible or not, whatever you may think. Historically, there would have been different writers or translators, if you want to call them that, that would have put their own version of the story within that one chapter. And that is why you would read the Noah story again and see it being repeated right in front of you. You go and read the story of Noah and see if you don't read it about 3 times. That is why, again, the numbers would change. 2 of every animal, clean and unclean. Then it comes back and say 2 of every unclean and 7 of every clean. That's somebody else writing that one. Now, I'm saying that to say, we just read the whole story of David being anointed. We read the whole story of David coming and sitting before Saul. We understood he's going to be the next king. He was made Saul's armor bearer, etc., etc. We just went through that. Now, verse 12 of the next chapter says, now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Benjamin, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. You may say, so what's wrong with that? That gives you the impression as if they're telling you the story over again, as if they're introducing David to the narrative. Now, David was just introduced in chapter 16, the chapter before. Keep in mind, you know, that's the first time David is being introduced in the Bible, in the 16th chapter of 1 Samuel. Now, we're in the 17th chapter of 1 Samuel. David is brought up again, but he's, in a sense, reintroduced. That's how it sounds. Now, you may say that's neither here nor there, but you will see why. You will see why. I'm going to say it one more time. You will see why I highlight a point like that, that it appears as if he's being reintroduced. Because as I just said, especially in the biblical sense of it, within 1 chapter, 2 chapters, within a book, you have 2 to 3 different authors contributing to that one story, and you would see things appear as if they're repeating themselves. All right. He had 8 sons, that's Jesse. And the man went among men of an old man in the days of Saul. That is a phrase that has stumped many theologians. Many ones asked, what does that mean? And the man went among men of an old man in the days of Saul. All right, let's continue. Verse 30. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle, the same battle with the Philistines. And the names of his 3 sons that went to battle were Eliab, the firstborn, the next unto him, Abinadab, and the third, Shammah. And David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistines drew near morning and evening and presented himself 40 days. I wanted to see now. And David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. So David take a break from Saul and gone back to Bethlehem to feed sheep. He with Saul so long. He's a man of war. He played music for Saul. Saul even tell his father, David not coming back. I love David. I mean, we just read this for ourselves. Now the Philistines hot on the heels. And David decided, okay, I going home to feed some sheep. Even though his 3 eldest brothers have come to join the battle, he gone home to feed sheep. Good. And the Philistines drew near morning and evening and presented himself, the Philistine, Goliath, presented himself 40 days, another esoteric allegorical number. And Jesse said unto David his son, take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren, and carry these 10 cheeses, that's what I got, cheeses, unto the captain of their thousands, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah fighting the Philistines. So they're not on the mountaintop no more. They're in the valley and fighting going on. And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with a keeper. That's deep science, deep science. And took and went as Jesse had commanded him, and he came to the trench as the host was going forth to fight, and shouted for the battle. Listen, family. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper and the carriage, and ran, the keeper of the carriage, pardon me, and ran into the army and came and saluted his brethren. Yes, so David jumped out of the carriage and gone into the battle and saluted his brothers. Rastafari are here. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of God, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistine, and spake according to the same words. And David heard him. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were so afraid. The man running away from Goliath, even Saul afraid. I wanted to follow the story. And when the men of Israel said, have ye seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel, he is come up, and it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house, pardon me, the confuser doing his own thing there a moment ago. All right. Sorry about that. And make his father's house, yes, pardon me for that, but you, oh yes, enrich him greater than father's house, free in Israel. And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, what shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? This is David talking. And the people answered him after this manner, saying, so shall it be done to the man that killeth him. And hear this, and Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, why camest thou down hither to bring you food, brother? Anyway, I just added that. And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? Sheep. I know thy pride and thy naughtiness on the naughtiness of thine heart. For thou art come down that thou might see the battle. And David said, what have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he turned from him toward another and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard, which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. Now this is when it gets mystic. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with the Philistine. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. Now remember, okay, so you hear this? David is considered a youth. Remember when his servant introduced David to Saul, he said, this is a man of war. But now Saul telling David, thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. And David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock, and I went out after him and smote him. A lion and a bear, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him. So I bad like that. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he had defied the armies of the living God. Okay, follow me, good family, we soon see. David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee. And Saul armed David with his armor. Remember, David is Saul's armor bearer, by the way. Keep this in mind. David is Saul's armor bearer. All of this is some symbolic reference here. So now the story which is being told by somebody else, I'm going to prove this to you. You can see David now is putting on the armor of Saul, the king. And Saul armed David with his armor. And he put on an helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him. And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. So Goliath have a man bearing the shield, I believe, went before him. And when the Philistines looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistines said unto David, Ha, 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 ha. You kidding me? Am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? Yo, just move, let me kill this little runt here. And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Oh, well, you know, David not gonna like that. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the fields. Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into my hand. I will smite thee and take thine head from thee. Watch you see. I will give the carcass of the host of the Philistine this day unto the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spears, but the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into his hand. And you know the story, of course. David went and slinged the stone, and Goliath fell on his face, and David took his sword and went and ran upon him, and then he chopped his head off his body. All right, good. And then when the men of Israel saw this, they went and they ran into the Philistines' tent, and they started to slew them. And he said, David took back the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem. But he put his armor in his tent. All of these things, this armor thing is very, very symbolic. Hear what verse 55 says. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, what do you think Saul said? You think Saul said, oh, my son David? Because remember, Saul just had a conversation with David. Before David went to fight Goliath, Saul and David just talked. Saul was not convinced that David could do this. Saul said, man, you are a little boy. Man, Saul said, tell you what, go and wear my armor. David put on the armor and come back and tell Saul, I can't wear this and go to battle. I can go by myself. Saul said, you sure? All right. Remember, this is the same David that just went home. Follow me good. This is the David that was with Saul all the time. He just went home to feed the sheep, and his father sent him back to give his brothers bread. So before he went home to feed the sheep, where was he? He was with Saul. He used to play music for Saul. Saul already made him his armor bearer, long time. He played music for Saul. He keeps Saul, free in his spiritual realms. He run away the evil spirit from Saul. In fact, before Saul met him, his servant told Saul, this man, David, the son of Jesse, can heal you. And when David came and he played for Saul, Saul sent back and told Jesse, hey, your son not coming home. I love him like a son. He's going to be my armor bearer. And every time Saul started to go crazy, David would come and play for him and make sure that he all right. You follow that story. He only went home to feed the sheep, and when he gone home, the battle against the Philistine was hot, and he came back to feed his brother and ended up on the battlefield. And then he and Saul had a discussion, and where Saul tell him, what you're going to do? You're a little boy. You're a little boy. You can't go there and fight him. And David said, I can do it. I can do it. Okay, put on my armor. Let me see. And he put it on and take it back off. And then he go and kill Goliath. And hear what verse 55 says. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this youth? Now tell me. Hear this, man. And Abner said, as thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell. And the king said, inquire thou whose son the stripling is. Hear that, stripling. They tell you some real old people talking. Follow this in the family. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And what do you think Saul say? Saul must have said, oh, it's you. Man, David, I didn't know. I mean, because I so far up here on the hill, I didn't see exactly who it was that killed Goliath. But man, I should have known better. I shouldn't, man, Abner didn't say David, man. David that eat with me every day. No, no, no. Verse 58 says, and Saul said unto him, whose son art thou, thou young man? And David answered, I am the son of thy servant Jesse, the Benjaminite. So what you want to tell me? Saul didn't know this? After all of that? No, come on. Let's be rational here. That's why I took the time to tell this story properly. To me, even in the early days when I first started to read the Bible, when I reached to that point, I said, but wait, how is it that he didn't know who this was? I don't understand. And at that time, I really didn't understand. At that time, I said, well, I don't understand. I don't understand. I even had to go back and read the story again to see if I got it properly. Those days I didn't really grasp the highness of the allegory as yet. No offense, like some of us. Some of us, is not that we don't even grab the understanding of the allegory. We don't even want it. We're not interested in understanding the esoteric messages that are being expressed like this. Because obviously, if this is supposed to be a play-by-play historical event, something gone wrong. Either Saul have amnesia or dementia or Alzheimer's kicking in. And what is interesting here, David is seen as a little child. Goliath laughing at David because he's a little child. And this is the same David that the servant tells Saul, this is a man of war. Yo, family, this is deep allegory. You don't have to be ashamed to read the Bible knowing that is a lot of esoteric messages in it. That's why I say, this is not the Bible Bunny Club, And I know I don't need no cheerleaders to come say, hip, hip, hooray. Yes, priest. Yeah, man. Yeah, man, make them know the Bible is the real thing. I agree, but maybe I doubt myself and you thinking the same way about it too. Jonah never gets swallowed by no fish. And no sea split open, all of that kind of stuff. No. We understand the deeper meaning of all of this. So again, if you have paved your concept in literalism, this whole story might make you lose sleep tonight. Because you say, boy, that's interesting. How is it Saul didn't know it was David? It's almost like a mystery. The Bible clearly shows you the relationship that they cultivated. It's not as if that was a long time when David was little and David grow big now and he come on the battlefield. He still was seen as a little boy. He was still the same little boy. And I will repeat, before he even met Saul, his servant described him as a man of war. I don't know if he was talking about the bear and the lion that he killed. I believe it's more than that. Yo, you see, family, let me not even get caught up in trying to trivialize this. The point is that these scriptures are just as the Bible's name gives it. The solar book, Holios, Biblios, the solar book. It's a lot of not just esoteric and allegorical, but a lot of astroscience here, astrotheology really, and cosmology and cosmogony is also being expressed in a lot of these scriptures that are right in front of us. And that's why I said earlier, you know, when I hit the punchline, you might say, that's the punchline. Yeah, that's the punchline. That is the punchline. Because again, if you're going to take it on a chronological, historical level, you're reading a story. It's like you're reading a story, like you've picked up a nice storybook to cuddle with, you know, with some hot chocolate and a nice warm blanket, and you're going to read this before you go to sleep. And you're reading a story where the king meet this young child. The young child was recommended to him by name, and he was brought and he met him, and the young child gave him the services that he needed, to the point that he fall in love with this young child and tell his father this young child not coming home. When a king tell a person that his child not coming home, that has become the king's child, you know. The king will make sure that child sits at the table every night for dinner, you know. That's why in the Bible, when David did not come back to the feast, when he was a big man, when he was running from Saul, Saul asked his real son, Jonathan, why is David's space at the dinner table empty? So when a king is sending back a son, that's the king's son. That's the story we read in the story. And they were all right, and you know, he made him his armor bearer. How more serious you can get than that? And then after that, the war came, and David said, just going home to give the sheep them some water. And in the nick of time, he had to be back on the battlefield. And then now, he and Saul having a conversation. And the Bible don't give you the impression that Saul didn't know who he was talking to, you know. In fact, you as a skillful reader would believe that Saul knew he was speaking to David, his good old friend that take care of him when he's sick. You're just a young child, so that shows you that it's not no long period of time. He's still a young child. And when he killed Goliath, Saul said, but who he? And Saul's chief army man saying, boss, I never see he before. Well, bring him to me. And when they bring him to Saul, again, Saul didn't say, oh, it's you. I should have known better. No. Saul asked him, so, young lad, who are you? And David didn't say, but master, it's me. It is I that sit before you. No, David explained to him who he was. So you see, in the first story, he was made the armor bearer. In the second story, he put on the armor, which is another way of saying he was made the armor bearer. Family, listen, this is not the religious corner. This is real radio, the reality show, the reality hour then, if you want to put it that, although we passed the hour. This is where scholars gather to disseminate information and to sift out the truth. And to me, when you can comprehend how to really read the Bible, that's where you nourish yourself in the wisdom that's within it. Just jumping up and saying His Majesty said glory in the Bible and be following it blind like a Bible bunny. You ain't getting no marks from me for that. You're just as bad as the other character that say they burn fire in Egypt. You ain't getting no marks from me for that. You know why? I'm going to be very straight, because we are here. We are here. And just as you would have seen us just presented to you, we have clearly showed you how you decode and decipher certain aspects of the scripture, which may just fly over the head of many. Even with the story of Sinuhe, and even David, and even the several renditions of one account, even in one chapter or in one account of a story. It's very deep. It's very deep. So give thanks, family, for that moment. I know we would have spent a good time this evening here. Give thanks for those who are joining us for the first time again. This is really a Radio Anu exclusive program. So if you're not a subscriber to Radio Anu, the Tiger's Nest more so, I'm inviting you to contact us via email, priestisaacInstitute@gmail.com, and then make sure you never miss another episode of the Tiger's Nest again. Those of you on the YouTube, before you go, just press the thumbs up button and let the video find itself around the world internationally. Hey, if you know your Bible and you do not know your history, the knowledge of your Bible will become a mystery. Yeah, and you don't know, it takes some real eyes to realize the real lies that are amongst us. Give thanks continually, family, for the life giver and the keeper of life. Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie, I, Jah Rastafari. Prosperity is a herbal remedy that has been naturally designed to nourish the prostate gland. Prosperity uses a combination of leaves, roots, and barks to create a tincture designed to nourish your prostate gland. It also will assist in prostate-related issues such as erectile dysfunction, swollen prostates, and problems related to the passage of urine. Call or WhatsApp 728-8289, 728-8289 and get your bottle today. Prosperity.